Hi, my name is Benji Rosenberg, and today I'm going to be talking to you about challenging the process. Before I get into it, though, a little bit about myself. I'm a senior at Wayne State University studying sports management. I live, work, and school in Detroit and will continue to do so after I graduate. One of the last courses I need to finish up my undergraduate degree is Concepts of Management. That course has taught me a variety of valuable skills and practices about being the best leader for myself and others. One of those practices stood out to me, and I would like to share my thoughts, background, and personal stories involving this practice with you today. Challenging the process, a theme commonly seen throughout history, and a theme especially common in movies and popular culture. Why do I bring this up? Because people often associate this topic as standing up to the man or disrespecting authority. In reality, it's a broad theme that encompasses a lot more. The context I'd like to discuss today is in leadership. Leaders challenge the process more often than not, but not in the stereotypical way that may involve fighting with a system or an authority. Instead, they do this by looking for opportunities and attempting to change for the better to enhance their leadership capabilities. This can range from learning from little mistakes or taking bigger, calculated risks to learn more about themselves and grow. I'm here today to talk about the bottom line regarding this subject. Everybody has room to grow. For that reason, it's important that we all encourage ourselves and others to be willing to self reflect in order to change and grow for the better. Before I get into anything, whether it be basic or complex about this theme, I want to share an experience that I've had to help put it into context a little bit. I was hired a couple of years ago as an event staff for the Wayne State University Athletic Department and helped run game day promotions for volleyball, basketball, and football. Toward the end of 2021, the Warriors football season had come to an end, but basketball was off to a hot start with a brand new stadium and exhibition opener against the University of Michigan. All this momentum came to a screeching halt when campus was shut down for COVID-19 and fans were no longer able to attend games. When this announcement came, there was no set time for when campus would be normal again, and all signs pointed towards me sitting patiently and waiting for my career to continue as an event staff. Instead, I pivoted and challenged myself to find another way to be an integral part of the Wayne State Athletic Department. My supervisor encouraged me to try out other facets of game day operations, and so I did. I went on to spend the rest of the season in different roles, most often operating the live broadcast of basketball games. This involved running commercials, making sure the announcer was being heard in the broadcast, and letting the head of communications know if there were any issues with the stream. When I was first offered to do this, I acknowledged that I didn't know the first thing about that sort of technology. However, I was happy to learn and knew that growth would not only help my career, but help me as a person as well. I would stay in this role until the conclusion of the college basketball season before receiving a promotion to the role of a student athletic marketing manager for the following year. So, what's the point of this story? The point is to convey the idea that without challenging the process, it is entirely possible for someone to remain stagnant in all aspects of life. How does it apply to leadership? Well, good leaders cannot remain good without growing and evolving. I thought of myself as a quality event staff, but that didn't mean I had to stay good at that one thing for a long time. Instead, I added another skill to my repertoire that can only make me a better leader in the future. Additionally, without my supervisor pushing me to try something new, I may have just waited for the pandemic lifts to end, despite there being no real timetable in sight. If there's one message that you take away from this story, it's that good leaders influence positive changes in others. With all this in mind, let's dive into what challenging the process really is. It's easy to tell a story about triumph or success, but it is a whole other idea to grasp an idea and then properly execute it. For most people, change is hard, and rightfully so. There are quite a few reasons why people may be unwilling to change, whether it be general uncertainty, inconvenience, or the potential for different relationship dynamics in their life to change. As a leader, it's important to push yourself and others to look past these barriers, and there are a few ways to do so. Firstly, talk about it. Have conversations with others about change and the potential outcomes it can bring in the short term and the long term. In any situation, people need context, and they will be more willing to act once they've been given basic background. The next component is communicating the idea that mistakes are not only okay, but they're preferred. It's difficult to acquire knowledge without messing up a few times along the way, but some people let a mistake or two get to their head. Leaders and peers need to step up and let them know that it's okay to have a hard time, and that comes with most changes. However, the reaction to the hard time is what helps us grow and adapt for future situations and struggles. The final step is to bring upon that change in small increments. People need to be confident in themselves, and that confidence is grown through small, manageable tasks that build to bigger ones down the line. One example is this. A lot of people went fully virtual for work during COVID-19. If you, as a leader, wanted your team back in person full time, that would be a lot to ask of them immediately. Instead, a good leader would simply ask to have them come in 2 or 3 times a week. Nothing crazy, just a gradual start that helps them adjust and acknowledges that it is a big ask to have them 100% back right off the bat. After a few months of this initial plan, employees are more likely to be willing to come in more often, and when they do, they won't be as stressed or overwhelmed by the situation. And if they are, this is where you bring in other skills we've talked about today, which are open conversations and the acceptance of mistakes. Encourage employees to tell you if they're having a hard time adjusting to change. When they do so, tell them that's what makes them human and that it's not always easy to embrace change. We all need to make mistakes in order to properly push through our struggles. Change is possible in any situation, but some situations fall apart when change is abruptly thrown into the mix without stepping stones or a small buildup. Someone has to take charge of change. J. Michael Krant is a professor from Notre Dame who learned that students with a higher proactivity rating were thought of as transformational leaders by their friends. There's also a positive correlation found between real estate agents and houses sold, and most entrepreneurs and bright college students have higher proactivity ratings. This culminates to one main point. The best leaders seize the opportunity. How does one become a proactive leader? There are 5 main ways. Firstly, you'll need to be able to self-reflect to become the best version of yourself. It's very easy to criticize others and tell them where to improve, but you must first be able to do that by yourself. Next, you need to listen to others. This involves taking information from the people at work, the media, and those closest to you to heart, and working to be a versatile leader. While you may be great with one group of people, you may struggle with another group. A good leader must be able to corral one large group, not various subgroups from within. After that, a good leader needs to act with haste and wit. When a situation comes up, it can often be unhelpful to let it sit and marinate for a long time. Instead, you need to be prepped for how to go about combating and resolving it. The fourth trait is a vision of the future. Nobody can predict the future, but a good leader can help create their own by visualizing and manifesting it. Rather than waiting for the future to arrive, they make goals and set their mind to success in an effort to bring upon their desired future. Finally, a good leader must experiment. Like I talked about before, mistakes are a good way for employees to adapt to change. The same goes for leaders. A good leader must experiment and lock down an idea that works in an effort to build upon it and lead a team behind them. This does not necessarily mean careless experimenting, but rather calculated ideas that are put to the test in a controlled setting in order to properly analyze and work from the results. Clearly, challenging the process goes way past the definition given in popular culture. It's a great way for leaders to help inspire themselves and others through productive change. There are various facets to the practice, like embracing change and making things happen proactively. Additionally, there are real world components and techniques that can be seen in most people's everyday lives. Change isn't easy. We know that. But as I mentioned earlier, if there's one quote you can take away from this that may help inspire change in your life for the better, it's this: good leaders influence positive change in others. Thank you for your time. I'm Benji Rosenberg.